pure applause we've ever had. Because if you're listening, there's a screen, a movie screen. It's badass as fuck that's slowly going up and revealing us, but it's so painfully slow. It was cute for the first row, and by the time the last row got to see us, they were like 20 minutes, bitch. Just say hello. Welcome to Jay and Silent Bob. Get old. Ohio, man. It's a special night for me because we'd been here years ago, the first Smodcast tour we ever went on. Me and Moj came here and did Smodcast live, and then we came back again with Brian and Walt and Brian Quinn, and we did Tesdy live here. So this place has been a nice home for us in Ohio, but now add to that tonight, we came here because Studio 35, where we're watching the movie tonight, is a movie theater where you can drink and eat some shit as well. Yeah! We came here tonight to watch Dogma, so on top of fucking like, oh man, I love Studio 35, we got to watch a movie that I dearly and truly love and haven't really looked at in fucking 10 years, man. Let me explain how these things happen. When you write and direct and edit and promote and you live and breathe these movies, by the time y'all get to start seeing it, the filmmaker is just like, I'm fucking done. I wish Bethany would die at the end of this movie. Like, why can't Bartleby and Loki win just once? So you get to a point where you're just like, I don't really want to watch it anymore. And I got to that point on Dogma, especially when they couple it with the fact that when the movie was coming out, shit, even before it was coming out, there was a brouhaha regarding the fucking content. The Catholic League went after the church. It was went after the flick. It was a fucking nightmare. People threw bricks through my window at my house and shit. We got 3 death threats. So in the midst of all that, it was like, oh man, I really want to forget this movie. And as soon as it was done, I ran to do something the exact opposite of this. I want to do something as light as possible that would offend nobody, and that was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. By the time the movie was done and out there in the world and stuff, and then you throw the controversy on top of it, which didn't make it any more fun, I couldn't get away from Dogma fast enough by when the time it got to theaters. Now, with fucking distance, like I said, I haven't watched it in a while, I kick back in the back of the theater and, like, seriously fucking enjoyed the movie in a probably gross way for a guy. That were absolutely excruciating to watch for me, but then there were parts that were fucking exhilarating and little things that kind of got dropped in. Like, you know, I live with these things from the beginning to the end, so I live with them in the idea stage, and then when I'm writing them, like I was sitting behind some cool guys who were doing dialogue with the movie, and they really fucking smile because fucking I used to do that at movies too. I'd go see Raising Arizona and just be like, my name is H. John McDonough, you know. And somebody would turn around and be like, shut up, fat little boy. And they were doing dialogue, and as they were doing it, I could do it too, even though it's been like 14 years, I think. Like, I was literally spitting out lines. It's the way they're delivered, they're kind of easy to remember. But I don't know, like I sat in the back and I was kind of transported. I was charmed by the thing. I was horrified by like some of my most amateurish filmmaking to date. I love this movie, but you know, people go like, which one of your movies would you ever remake? And I don't think I'd ever remake them, but in a world where somebody's like, you gotta remake one of them, bitch, I'd be like, all right, Dogma, fast. Because, I don't know, it had such, it's weird, it's a wonderful, sweet movie, and it's fucking bizarre, and it's like, it's, one minute they're talking about faith, and the next minute there's an ass-fucking joke. It was all over the place, but in the back of the theater, I was watching it tonight going, what is it about this movie that gets me? And it's just like, it's a team movie, and they all get together and fight evil and shit, and I'm like, oh, this is a $10 million version of the Avengers. None of the talent of Joss Whedon to wield the camera. The fight scenes in this movie are embarrassing. They're on the train at one point, and it looks so bad. It's just like, I'm going to jump on your back. If you watch this movie and play a drinking game to it, drink every time someone jumps on someone else's back. Shit-faced by the end of the movie. And like when we're all attacking Bartleby at the end, like I'm hitting him with a folding chair, and like you can see his wings are about to fall off. They're twisting this way and that. It looks so low budge, but still, I don't know, like I didn't cringe out of embarrassment. I was just like, oh, the rough edges and shit, but there's something kind of sweet about it. And once it fucking moves, man, it starts moving like the third act and shit. And when you're like, you said you'd fuck me, it really kind of takes off. And the beautiful thing is, like, the whole time I've always said, like, Jason Mewes stole that movie out from under that cast, and you absolutely did. I don't think I've ever given credit to the guy who I think is adorable in the movie, is Matt Damon. That's so fucking sweet in the movie, man. And it's so weird because that part wasn't written for him. That part was written for Jason Lee. It was supposed to be Ben playing Bartleby, Jason Lee playing Loki. So when you listen to Loki's dialogue, if you listen really closely, you're like, oh, that sounds like Banky and Brody, because it was meant to be Jason Lee. And when we were casting the movie, I don't know if you remember this, we were casting the flick, and we were still like 6 months out from shooting, or 2. We were waiting for a green light, and Miramax was like, you got to get the perfect cast together before we give you more money and shit. So there was this, we're going to start now, we're not going to start. It was moving, the date was moving all the time. And Jason Lee was like, I got an offer to do this movie in France, where I speak French, and I play a chef. And I think I would like to do that. And I was like, okay, but we might be shooting Dogma in the next 6 months. And he's just like, all right, well, can you confirm that? Because I would like to go do this as well. And I was like, yeah, but if you do that, man, they might fucking not let you be in the movie, because what if we go all of a sudden? And he's just like, well, I want to do this, you know, you're not mad, are you? I was like, no, not at all. I totally understand it. Go France, do the French movie, fucking jerk. But I was like, it's totally fine, it's totally fine. I love Jason, so it didn't matter. And so once he was gone, Harvey Weinstein instantly was just like, oh, Jason Lee's out of the movie, why don't you get Ben's friend, the famous one, to be in it? And thankfully, God bless Matt's heart, he was just like, he didn't have to. Like, at this point where we started making this movie, they had already shot Good Will Hunting, but it was clear that it was going to fucking be something. And so we were in pre-production, and Good Will Hunting was already becoming something, so he could have, like, at any given moment been like, look, man, I fucking told you back in the day when Jason Lee dropped out that I would do this with you, but I'm a huge fucking movie star, so fuck your rinky-dink picture, you know? But he didn't. He stayed with it. And then months, like, we didn't wind up shooting in that 6-month corridor. When we wind up shooting, Jason Lee was free. He was done with his French movie and stuff. So he had called me, and he was just like, hey man, I'm back. I would love to be in Dogma if it's still happening. And I was like, I gave your part to Matt Damon. And he was just like, oh, he's a good actor. But I was like, you know what, man? Fucking Azrael's still open. You get to play a bad guy. And he goes, oh, I do? And I was like, yeah, man, reread the script. Because he goes, I remember. He's kind of like the villain. He explains shit, the plot at the end. I said, yeah, he's our Bond villain. So he was like, all right, man, I could get my head around that. Let me do that. So we wound up doing Azrael, and then oddly enough, that's the role that kind of led to him being the bad guy in The Incredibles. He played Syndrome. He was the voice of the bad guy. And when you watch Dogma and fucking